It was a morning like any other, the sun rising over Earth's horizon, as the world stirred into motion. But then, without warning, the sky was ripped apart by massive shapes, descending from the heavens like harbingers of doom. Strange metallic ships, the size of cities, breaking through the clouds and casting their ominous shadows over the earth below. Cities froze in terror, and the first screams of panic echoed through the streets as alarms blared. Worldwide governments scrambled into action, but it was too late. They were already here, and they were already striking. Humanity had no way of knowing what was coming or how it had been so easy for these invaders to find them. The first wave of ships unleashed a barrage of energy weapons that leveled entire neighborhoods in seconds, buildings crumbling into dust as civilians ran for their lives. In every corner of the globe, chaos reigned. New York was hit first, followed by London, Beijing, Tokyo, and then every major city across every continent. The aliens didn't waste time on warnings or demands. They came for one purpose: to conquer, and they did it swiftly. As the first explosions rocked the earth, the military responded with everything it had: missiles, jets, tanks. But nothing worked. The alien technology was far beyond anything humanity had seen or understood. Their shields absorbed every attack, and their weapons tore through the human defenses like paper. The people had no idea how to fight back. Nothing could stop them, and the panic spread fast. It didn't take long before the world's leaders were broadcasting desperate messages to their people, urging them to hide, to stay indoors, to seek shelter. But even those who followed the orders were not safe. The skies darkened further as alien craft flew low and fast, searching for any sign of human resistance and destroying everything in their path. People trapped in the streets were caught by the energy blasts. The earth itself seemed to tremble with each impact as waves of destruction spread outward. Humanity had only one thought now: survival. The hope of victory felt like a distant dream as the alien forces deployed their ground troops. The horrors of battle spilling into the cities where the once bustling metropolises became graveyards. Soldiers and civilians alike scattered into underground bunkers and hiding places for their lives. But even those places weren't secure as the invaders began to search for anyone who had escaped their initial strike. The world had never seen an enemy like this. Their weapons, their speed, their intelligence far outpaced anything the human race had ever known. How could they stand against such an enemy? Was there any chance at all? This wasn't a war, it was a slaughter. The fight had barely begun, and already humanity seemed to be on the brink of extinction. But there was one thing: the invaders didn't count on human resilience in the face of impossible odds. Even as the world seemed to fall apart, something sparked inside people's hearts and minds: the survival instinct, the drive to fight, no matter the cost. The first signs of resistance began in the shadows: small groups of soldiers and civilians working together to survive each day. They didn't know how they would win, but they knew they couldn't give up. They couldn't let the world fall without a fight, even if that fight seemed hopeless. Even if the enemy seemed unstoppable, humanity would rise against them with everything they had left. As the days turned into weeks and the alien invasion continued its relentless assault, humanity began to realize that survival alone was no longer enough. The world's cities were reduced to rubble, and the few remaining survivors scattered in the wilderness or hidden in underground bunkers. There was no more government, no more global order. The aliens had taken control of the skies and the cities, and humanity was left to fend for itself. Yet in the darkness of this new world, a spark of defiance began to flicker in the hearts of ordinary people. It started with small acts of resistance: individuals banding together to salvage whatever they could from the wreckage of the old world. In the shadows, they built makeshift weapons, crafted from scraps of metal and alien technology. The first skirmishes were crude but effective in their own way. Desperate yet determined, these small groups of fighters began to push back against the invaders. Their attacks were unpredictable hit-and-run tactics designed to harass and weaken the alien forces. Every victory, no matter how small, gave humanity a glimmer of hope that they were not as powerless as they once believed. The resistance wasn't just made up of soldiers, it was made up of families, engineers, doctors, teachers, farmers, people from every walk of life who refused to let their world be destroyed. They brought their skills to the fight, even if they had never held a weapon before. Many were not trained for battle, but the need to protect their loved ones gave them strength that no alien weapon could match. Slowly, the resistance grew in numbers and in strength as more and more survivors found each other and joined the fight. They communicated in secret codes and hidden messages, reaching out to others who were willing to stand and fight. Soon the scattered groups began to form a network, one that stretched across the globe, from the ruins of New York to the forests of the Amazon, from the deserts of Africa to the mountains of Tibet. The resistance was everywhere. They fought back, using whatever they had left. Alien tech, scavenged from the wreckage, was integrated into their defenses and weapons. Though the knowledge was limited and the technology unfamiliar, it was a start, and that start was enough. There were failures and setbacks along the way, but with each loss came new lessons and new strategies. As the resistance began to understand how to use the alien technology against its creators, they realized something crucial. The aliens may have had superior weapons, but they underestimated the human ability to adapt and innovate. And it was this ability that would become humanity's greatest weapon, not the guns or the bombs, but the sheer determination to never give up. The resistance had no official leaders, no organized military structure, but what it lacked in coordination it made up for in passion and resolve. Slowly, the aliens began to feel the pressure. Their perfect, invincible machines were being chipped away at one attack at a time. The resistance wasn't just surviving anymore, it was making the aliens bleed. It was showing them that Earth was not just a prize to be conquered, it was a home worth fighting for. Humanity was beginning to fight back, not out of desperation, but out of hope. As the days turned into months, the resistance grew more organized, but it was clear that their makeshift weapons and tactics would only get them so far. The alien forces were far more advanced, and despite their successes, humanity was still losing ground. There had to be more to the aliens' technology than what they had already discovered. A breakthrough came one fateful night when a group of scientists working in an underground research facility managed to unlock a fragment of the alien tech they had salvaged. They discovered something that would change the course of the war, a hidden weakness in the aliens' energy shields. The discovery was shocking. The alien shields, which had been impenetrable to every weapon the resistance had tried, had a vulnerable frequency. If they could find a way to broadcast that specific frequency, it could disable the shields, rendering their ships and ground forces defenseless. It was a breakthrough humanity had desperately needed. But there was a problem. The frequency was unlike anything the scientists had ever encountered. It was not just a matter of understanding the alien tech. They needed to find a way to harness it and use it against them before the aliens could adapt. The team of scientists worked day and night, studying the data they had collected, working with the best minds in the resistance. Meanwhile, the alien forces continued their reign of terror. Cities fell, and entire regions were wiped out, but the resistance fought on, growing stronger with each small victory. Time was running out, and the resistance knew they needed to strike while the aliens were still vulnerable. A plan was put into motion. The resistance would launch a coordinated assault on an alien stronghold, one of their largest military bases located deep in enemy territory. It was a dangerous mission, and no one was sure if they would make it out alive, but the stakes were too high. The scientists had figured out a way to use the frequency disruptor, but they needed to get close to the alien base to deploy it. The risk was immense, but it was their best shot. The night before the mission, the leaders of the resistance gathered to discuss the plan. They were a mixture of soldiers, civilians, engineers, and strategists, all with different skills and backgrounds, but united by one purpose: to reclaim their planet. The mission would require precision, coordination, and above all, courage. The soldiers who would lead the assault knew they would be outnumbered and outgunned, but they were determined. As the day of the mission approached, tensions ran high. The alien forces were formidable, and their presence loomed over the battlefield like a dark cloud. But the resistance had something the aliens didn't: the will to fight, the refusal to surrender. The night before the assault, the warriors of the resistance stood together in silence, knowing that this could be their last chance to change the course of the war. The mission began at dawn. Small squads of resistance fighters infiltrated the alien base, dodging patrols and securing key positions. The disruption devices were set, and the team prepared for the moment of truth. As they activated the devices, a wave of energy pulsed through the air, targeting the alien shields. The air crackled with tension. Would it work? Would humanity's last hope succeed? Or would it be another failed attempt? The moment the frequency disruptors activated, the silence that followed was deafening. For a brief moment, nothing happened. But then the alien ship's shields flickered and wavered, their once impenetrable armor now vulnerable. It was the break the Resistance had been waiting for. The first salvo from humanity's forces hit with a force they hadn't dared to hope for, and the alien ship's defenses crumbled. The tide was turning. Around the world, the news spread like wildfire. Resistance forces, emboldened by the sudden advantage, began attacking alien strongholds with renewed vigor. What had been small, scattered skirmishes grew into coordinated assaults as every nation began to contribute to the cause. Governments, once fractured and hesitant, now set aside their differences and combined their forces. The United Nations reformed as a central command, pooling together military resources, scientists, and strategists to create a unified front against the invaders. Every corner of the earth saw a renewed commitment to the fight. From the ruins of Paris to the deserts of the Middle East, humanity rallied. The people who had once been in hiding, fearful and powerless, now took to the front lines. Soldiers, engineers, doctors, and even children who had once only dreamed of peace were suddenly part of something far greater than themselves. The global alliance was formed, and it became humanity's greatest weapon. The aliens, taken by surprise by the strength of humanity's unity, found themselves unable to keep up with the rapidly shifting tides of battle. Their once feared superiority now seemed uncertain. The world's military forces worked together like a well-oiled machine, exchanging tactics, intelligence, and technology to create a strategy that would overwhelm the invaders. Satellites, drones, and even experimental tech that had been hidden for years were brought to bear as humanity's innovation reached new heights. The Resistance fighters now had access to alien technology. Though imperfect, they could use it to their advantage. Weapons and shields once thought to be invincible were adapted for human use. A fleet of newly constructed warships equipped with alien energy cannons surged into space, engaging the alien motherships in epic battles above Earth's atmosphere. On the ground, human soldiers equipped with alien armor and energy-based weapons fought fiercely against the invaders' ground troops. The world was becoming a battleground, but humanity's will was stronger than ever. As the days passed, more victories were achieved. Alien fortresses fell, their forces scattered and in disarray. For the first time since the invasion began, it seemed as though the Earth might not be lost after all. In every victory, the Resistance grew bolder, more determined. But the fight was far from over. The aliens, now realizing that their invasion was not as inevitable as they had once believed, regrouped and adapted their tactics, preparing for a final push to crush humanity once and for all. But the Resistance wasn't afraid. They had seen what humanity could do when united. They had discovered their greatest strength, their ability to endure, to adapt, and to rise above the impossible. They had already begun to take back their planet, and they would not stop now. The world had united in the face of a common enemy, and nothing would stand in their way. The final confrontation loomed. As alien forces regrouped and prepared for their last stand, humanity readied itself for the decisive battle that would determine the fate of the planet. The Resistance was no longer just a group of survivors. It was a force of hope, a force of change, and a force that would show the invaders the true meaning of humanity's resilience. As the final confrontation drew near, the Resistance found themselves on the edge of a monumental discovery. After months of research and trials, the human scientists had managed to perfect the alien frequency disruptor. What had once been an unstable device was now a fully functional weapon that could cripple the invaders' fleet and forces in a matter of minutes. But time was running out. The aliens had begun to adapt, reinforcing their defenses and preparing for the final battle that would decide the fate of Earth. The Resistance knew that the next attack had to be their last. The stakes were higher than ever. If they failed, Earth would be lost, and all of humanity would fall under alien control. The Global Alliance had worked tirelessly to coordinate a full-scale assault that would be their one and only chance to deliver a devastating blow to the invaders. The alien motherships, which had long been the central command of their forces, were now the prime targets. But attacking the motherships would be no easy feat. They were heavily guarded, protected by a network of smaller ships and an army of ground troops. If the Resistance wanted to strike a decisive blow, they would need to break through this seemingly impenetrable defense. With the perfect disruptor ready, the leaders of the Resistance made their final plans. A diverse group of soldiers, engineers, pilots, and strategists gathered in the war room to outline the assault. Their mission was clear: infiltrate the alien motherships, deploy the disruptors, and disable the alien fleet's defenses once and for all. The operation would require every resource, every ounce of courage, and every bit of humanity's ingenuity. It was a mission no one expected to survive, but it was the only chance they had. The night before the operation, humanity's soldiers gathered in secret. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for their families, for their homes, for the future of their species. The weight of that responsibility was heavy, but the knowledge that they were not alone, united as one human race, gave them the strength they needed to carry on. Each person knew what was at stake. They weren't just warriors. They were symbols of hope, the last defense against the alien onslaught. As the final day of the operation arrived, Earth's forces launched their assault from all corners of the planet. Fighters streaked across the sky, landing on alien-controlled territories, while Resistance forces infiltrated alien bases and fortified positions. The ground shook with the intensity of the battle as the human forces pressed forward. The aliens fought back with relentless fury, but the Resistance was unyielding. Then, the moment came. A team of elite soldiers, accompanied by the best engineers and scientists, breached the heart of the largest alien mothership. The ship's vast corridors were filled with the hum of alien technology, but the team pressed on, determined to reach the central command center where the frequency disruptor would be deployed. Every step they took brought them closer to their goal, but also closer to danger. The alien forces were aware of the intrusion and were closing in on them. At the last possible moment, the disruptor was activated. The air crackled with energy as a powerful pulse surged through the mothership, sending waves of disruption through the alien shields. The alien fleet's once impenetrable defenses faltered. The humans had done it. The tide of battle had shifted once again. For the first time in months, the Resistance could see a glimmer of hope. The aliens had been forced to retreat, their fleet and forces now vulnerable. It was a victory, but the war was far from over. As the disruptor's pulse echoed across the alien fleet, the Resistance couldn't believe their eyes. The once invincible enemy that had crushed humanity's defenses for so long was now faltering. The shields protecting their ships and ground forces were gone, and for the first time, humanity was able to strike at the heart of the invaders' power. The momentum had shifted, and the aliens were scrambling to respond to a threat they hadn't anticipated. The world watched in awe as humanity, no longer fighting for survival, now fought for victory. The Global Alliance, fueled by this newfound hope, mobilized at an unprecedented scale. The world's nations, once fractured and divided, were now a single unified front. With the alien defenses crippled, humanity's forces surged forward. Cities that had once been destroyed were now reclaimed, as Resistance fighters pushed alien forces back across the globe. On the ground, human soldiers, equipped with alien technology and guided by the knowledge of their enemies' weaknesses, fought with a fierce determination. Their attacks were no longer reactive. They were strategic, focused, and relentless. The Resistance forces coordinated airstrikes, ground assaults, and guerrilla tactics with military precision. In every battle, the aliens lost more ground. Above Earth, the skies became a battleground. The human warships, now equipped with alien weaponry and shields, engaged the alien motherships in full-scale space warfare. The alien ships were not designed to face an enemy that understood their technology, and the humans exploited every flaw they could find. What had once been a desperate defense now turned into an aggressive counterattack. The resistance fighters pushed the invaders back into space, chasing them beyond Earth's orbit. But the aliens were not easily defeated. Their leaders, desperate to maintain control, began to regroup and launch counteroffensives, hoping to regain their superiority. The battle was far from won, and the alien forces weren't going down without a fight. The motherships, though weakened, still commanded the skies, and the resistance knew that the final push would require more than just strength. It would require strategy, sacrifice, and unity. Humanity's scientists and engineers worked tirelessly, adapting alien technology to create new weapons, shields, and tools to stay ahead of the enemy. The resistance had become more than just a rebellion. It had become an unstoppable force of innovation and ingenuity. Human fighters, once outmatched and outclassed, were now the ones dictating the terms of battle. But it wasn't just technology that was shifting the tide. It was the sheer will of the human spirit. Every victory, no matter how small, brought more people into the fold. Resistance groups in every corner of the world shared their successes and learned from their mistakes. The global alliance coordinated on a scale never seen before, pooling resources, knowledge, and manpower into a collective effort to bring down the alien invaders. The aliens had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and fight back. Where they saw a fractured, weak species, they were now facing a united and determined force. The invaders' once unassailable grip on Earth was slipping, and with every alien ship that fell from the sky, and every stronghold that crumbled, the resistance's hope grew stronger. Humanity had learned the most crucial lesson of all. They were not simply fighting for survival, they were fighting for their future. And that future was within reach. The final battle was upon them. The resistance had fought long and hard, pushing the alien invaders back to the edge of their forces. But the aliens were not ready to surrender, and humanity knew that this last confrontation would determine everything. The alien motherships, though heavily damaged, still posed a deadly threat, and their remaining ground troops were preparing for one final push to wipe out the human resistance. Humanity's forces, though weary from months of continuous battle, were united in purpose. Every soldier, every fighter knew that this was their moment. The war had cost them dearly. Cities had been lost, families torn apart, and entire generations had grown up in the shadow of destruction. But they were not ready to give up, not when victory was within their grasp. The last assault would require everything they had: their strength, their resolve, and their ability to outthink and outfight the alien invaders. The resistance had already learned from the aliens' tactics. They had watched, studied, and adapted. Their strategies were no longer the desperate measures of an overwhelmed species. They were the calculated moves of a force determined to take back their home. The alien invaders, once so sure of their superiority, now found themselves on the defensive. Across the world, resistance forces took their positions. From the skies to the ground, humanity's military was ready. The human warships, now bristling with alien weaponry and technology, took to the stars once more, ready to face the remaining alien motherships. Below, soldiers prepared to storm the last alien strongholds, armed with everything from makeshift weapons to advanced tech that had once been alien but was now their own. The battle began with a deafening roar as human warships launched their final assault on the alien fleet. The skies lit up with flashes of energy as missiles and laser beams collided with alien shields and ships. For every ship that fell, another one took its place. But the humans were relentless. Every time the aliens adapted, the humans found a new weakness to exploit. The tide of battle shifted in favor of Earth's forces, and the aliens' once unbeatable grip on the skies slowly loosened. On the ground, resistance fighters stormed alien bases and fortresses with renewed determination. Their movements were swift and precise, taking advantage of the aliens' disorganized defense. With the disruptors now fully functional and perfected, humanity's forces quickly overwhelmed the alien ground troops. The once untouchable alien commanders and generals were captured, their forces collapsing as the resistance advanced. But the final showdown would come in the heart of the alien mothership, their command center. A small, elite group of human soldiers, engineers, and scientists made their way to the mothership's core. They knew that destroying the heart of the alien fleet would be the key to ending the invasion once and for all. They fought their way through alien corridors, their every step a battle for survival. They encountered the last line of alien defense, but the resistance was more than prepared. They fought with the fury of those who knew they had nothing left to lose. At last, the final blow was dealt. The central control systems of the alien mothership were destroyed, and with it, the remaining alien forces fell into chaos. The invaders, unable to regroup and with their command structure shattered, were now powerless. The resistance had done what once seemed impossible. They had reclaimed their world. Humanity stood victorious. The battle had been long and costly, but Earth was theirs again. The invaders had underestimated them, and in the end, they had paid the price. The war was over, but the work had only just begun. The world had to rebuild, but the people of Earth had learned a lesson they would never forget. When united, they could overcome even the greatest of challenges. The dust had settled. The skies, once filled with alien warships and the hum of distant conflict, were now eerily quiet. The world stood at a crossroads, a place where the horrors of the past were met with the hope of a new beginning. Humanity had won, but the cost had been immeasurable. Cities lay in ruin, and countless lives had been lost. Yet, in the face of utter devastation, the human spirit had proven unbreakable. The days following the final battle were filled with both celebration and mourning. The resistance fighters who had survived the war were hailed as heroes, their bravery and sacrifice the stuff of legends. But in their hearts, they knew that victory came at a heavy price. The war had torn the fabric of the world, and the road to recovery would be long and difficult. But as they looked to the horizon, there was something else, something more powerful than the scars of war. It was a sense of unity, of determination, that stretched across every nation, every city, every home. The people of Earth had come together as one, united not just by their survival, but by their shared belief in a future that was worth fighting for. Around the world, reconstruction efforts began. Governments, once fractured and divided, worked side by side with the resistance to rebuild the cities that had been destroyed. Scientists and engineers collaborated to salvage what remained of alien technology, using it to advance human progress. The lessons learned from the alien invasion were not forgotten. Humanity had adapted, had fought back, and now it would use its newfound knowledge to create a better future. For the first time in history, humanity stood united, not as individual nations, but as a single global force. Borders became less important as people recognized that their strength lay in their shared humanity. The lessons of the war were clear. No matter the challenge, no matter the enemy, when united, there was nothing the human race could not overcome. As Earth began to rebuild, the surviving resistance fighters became leaders in their communities, guiding the efforts to restore peace and order. The global alliance that had formed in the heat of battle remained intact, working together to ensure that Earth would never again be caught unprepared. The world had learned the importance of cooperation, of pooling resources and knowledge, and it was a lesson that would shape the future for generations to come. Humanity had faced the unimaginable and had come through the other side, stronger, wiser, and more united than ever. The aliens had come to Earth thinking they could conquer and control. They had underestimated the resilience of the human spirit. And now, with the invaders gone and their forces scattered, the people of Earth could finally begin to look forward. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: humanity would never again be caught off guard. They had proven that no matter how dark the days might seem, the light of hope and unity would always shine through. Earth had been saved not just by weapons, not just by strategy, but by the sheer determination of a species that refused to give up on itself. And so, as the world began to heal, the story of humanity's victory spread far and wide. It became a story told for generations, of a time when the impossible was defeated, when Earth stood against the darkness and emerged victorious. It was the story of a planet that learned to unite in the face of unimaginable odds. It was the story of humanity's triumph, and it would echo through the ages, a reminder that no matter what challenges lay ahead, humanity would always rise again.